Good morning, everybody. Welcome again to Sunday. Got a house full of Michaels today. Michael Baird, Michael Peel, and so on. Very welcome anyway. So, today, lots happening today. So, and they're all fiddly bits and pieces around the box. Okay, so around this one here. Last week, I turned these cute little knobs, and the week before I turned the ones that I've fitted onto this box. Okay, so this is the second box. So I turned the ones that fitted onto here. So that was the week before. Now when I fitted those, when you look at it, you can see that I've got the fitting of them. They just overlap a tiny little bit around outside the casing of the box. Now the reason for that is because I'm going to roll over the top, and to give myself a bit of uniformity, I've gone from there over to there, right? So I've kept that sort of, balance of the box. And when I look at it, I'm not all that impressed with it. So the difference, this is the difference we're going to do, so I'll put that out of the way. Parts of that one. Now the difference this time, when I turn the box over, what I want to do is I want to make it so that it's flush on the edges. Of course it's going to be up that way, but it will be flush on the edges. So I needed to know exactly where to drill for that. Now the holes that I drill here are going to be 10mm holes, because I've turned a 10mm spigot on the end of the wheel. So I need to drill a 10mm hole. Now I'm not just going to go ahead and just drill straight away into my box. Don't want to do that. What I want to do is just test to see that everything fits right, because remember, these are all done individually by hand, so there's no guarantee that they're going to be exactly 10mm, unless of course you're an excellent wood turner, and there's lots of you around there. So what we have to do is do a tester first. So over to the drill, and we'll do a little test, and then we'll do a fit. So what I have here the brad point bits. Now one of the things that I've been doing for many years is the brad point bit is one of an 8mm one is one that we use. Many years ago we used to sell them. Actually we still do sell them, but I found that you had to buy them individually. So I went along to Carbotech, and we got this lovely set of brad point bits. Now they aren't a common thing, well, not that I've seen anyway. So now what we've got is a whole set of them, so I'm really pleased about that. So I can now adjust the sizes to all sorts of different things that I do, and one of them is this. So I've got my 10mm one in there because as I said before, the spigot on there is 10mm. So let's do.
You might mention that Carbotech sell it and that it's in the latest Wood Review magazine.
Oh, if you didn't hear that, Pammy just mentioned that Carbotech have just had this in the latest Wood Review magazine, and that kit, so they do sell them. They're quite good. So all I'm doing now is just doing a tester. Just want a test hole. And that fits really nicely. So it gives you a nice flush fit, and that will look quite nice. So 10mm is exactly the right size. What you can do is You can see it fits quite snug. That one fits. That one fits. That one popped in really nicely. Once you get a bit of glue in there, they'll be great. They'll be good. So that fits as well. The other thing that I've tested for is the depth. Okay, so I don't need to have a really deep hole, and I don't want a deep hole because I've only got a 10mm panel to work with. So small hole, and we'll go from there. Now, if you want a quick way of checking or getting the size right, or the depth right, is this. A little bit of tape. Just pull that into there. Just lock this so it's not going to go anywhere. A little bit of tape around the drill bit at the top. That'll give me my depth. And if you leave the little flag on there, it actually becomes a broom as well. Sweeps away the sawdust as you drill. Okay, here's my box. Now I've marked the hole. I've done that on all 4 corners, so I'm just going to drill all 4. I could have put a bigger platform on to sit it on, but I just want to make sure I get those pretty much exact. Not there. Check. As soon as the broom starts to sweep away the sawdust, you know you've gone your depth. Actually didn't go deep enough. That's because it jammed up. Got it, I think. A little bit more. Might take a little bit off the plug. That one fits a bit better. Take a little bit off the stem of the plug because I don't want to go any deeper than what I've got, because otherwise I'll end up drilling through the bottom of the box. Okay, so now we have our 4 holes drilled. It's a matter of now fitting all of my feet. I may need to take a little bit off the bottom of them. looking pretty good. And then we have our full fleet. Now, it sits up a little bit, but I've just got to sand one flatter because one of them is a little bit wider than the others. But besides that, but that's the idea, that's the technique. So that's a little bit of work there to be done yet. I've still got this one has to be, I have to take a little bit more off that one because it's sitting up. But all the rest of them are all fine. Yeah, they're all fine. It's just this one here sitting up a little bit. So I just have to take a little bit off the end of the stem. You can do that easily enough. Just with a little bit of sandpaper. So. You don't need to be super critical about that because, there you go, now it's flat. Okay, so that's going to do. Now I'm not going to glue them on straight away because I want to be able to take them off and give them a bit more of a tidy up. I'm not quite happy with the finish on the feet themselves, so it's just a matter of tidying them up, but at least I've got them fitted and that's where they're going to live. And you can see the box actually looks quite nice now, starting to sit up a little bit. And it's starting to get a little bit of class. Now remember, we were, this box is a little agriculture in a lot of ways, so it's a suck it and see job as we go along. Now remember, this one had the fault that I did when I cut the trench in the top of it, and we've put the little bit of inlay in there. Now, what I'm going to do with the front of the box, or the front of the drawer, is I'm actually going to replicate that in the front of the drawer, so it actually shows up on the drawer. So there's a bit of correlation between the drawer and the top of the box when you open the lid. I'm also going to put a piece around the outside edge of the lid as well. So just a little bit of flary stuff. Not something that I do a lot of, but it's always something that sort of touches the box up a little bit rather than just having a plain box. So now it's time to fit the drawer. So I've got the drawer fitted. So this is my drawer. That's fitted on there. Don't need that. Just get that out of the way. So there's my drawer. And that's just going to fit straight into there like that. Remember, we did this a couple of weeks ago. So as you can see, it fits flush. And then this is my piece of material that I cut last week, and I talked to you about that when we did it. And we want that to fit in there flush as well. Another reason for not gluing the feet in at the moment is because the drawer actually sits out a little bit, and I'm going to plane that and clean that up before I glue the feet back onto it. So that's going to happen there. Now, what I've done is I've cut myself a piece of material. Now, this little piece of material is just 1/8 piece of silver ash, and I'm going to put that, recess that into the top of the drawer, like so, before we actually fit the drawer. So I'm going to do that right now, and we'll get that sorted as well. So it's just another little feature that sort of links that to that. So put that aside, put that other foot back on there, and we'll go over and do this. Now the top edge is this edge here, so I'm going to do it in there. So I've got to measure down, say 10 millimeters. It doesn't have to be any specific measurement. I'm going to measure down 10 mil and 15 mil in from the edges, and then I'm going to round over the ends of it, because I'm using a round a bit to start with, but I'll have to round over the ends of this just to match up to the feet and all the other round over bits that I've got on the box. So like I say, we're starting to link things together. Now the router bit that I'm using is my TSRW4, which is a 1/8 router bit. You can see it's quite a small router bit when you get in there. You can see it's quite small. So don't want to go very deep. I just want to go in a shallow cut so that I've got something in there, and then I'm going to fit that into there. So I'll do that first. I'll take that from there. So let's get this out of the way. Now I'm going to be working on the fence. So as you can see, I'm working on the back side of the fence here, and a ruler. The beauty of my apron, there you go. It's I haven't worn the apron a lot. Put it on last week, and lots of people thought it was funny. I thought it was fun move as well. So get a bit of height. I'm only going to come up a little bit. I'm not going to come up too far. Say a couple of millimetres. You don't need to have a really deep inlay here. And then 10 millimetres in from the edge. Like so. Lock that on place. Now I need to set the distance that I'm going to cut in from the edge. So that's got to set in here, so I'll need to stop on this end, and I will need to stop on this end as well. So from stop to stop will give me a positioning. So if I measure here 15 millimetres, I've got to find the top. Mil. 15 millimetres in from here. So I put my mark on here because I can use that as a gauge when I set the stops. Couple of clamps. Just got to come back a bit more. Be relatively accurate with this so that you do get it correct. We may need to adjust it. Put the clamps in the way of the camera, did I, Pammy?
No, that's fine, Dad.
It's all good?
Yeah. Just a bit tight in here.
Okay, so there's my stops. Put things away so that I don't lose them again. Look at that, nice little pocket for the ruler. Okay, ears on everybody. And there's my little trench. And my piece of material is going to fit in there quite nicely. I just got to cut it to size. Let's get over this side a bit. A bit of sawdust in the end of that channel. Now, first thing, round over one end. And I'm only using a piece of sandpaper because I don't have to do a great deal of work to get it round. And when you round it over, you can see it's really nice little fit. So you want it to have it look like that. So now what I need to do is measure and mark and cut. So just leave that in there.
Does this mean you won't lose your pencil anymore?
I think that probably will be the case.
Ha.
Ha!
No, I don't reckon that'll be right.
One of these days I'm going to make a little cabinet that take all of these chopping boards and jigs that I make.
Oh, nice.
Okay, around over this end.
A bit more.
Just need to take a little bit off. Not quite rounded enough. Actually, that's a little bit too thick. Maybe I'll try and turn it over. It actually fits that way better. So, a little bit of glue. So don't need a lot of glue, so don't need to squeeze much out. Bit of that, bit of paper towel. Now it fits nice and snug, so by the time I get that wasn't enough. Now before you actually stick it in there, just wipe the excess off. Don't need to because you're going to plane it anyway. I'm going to do here. So I'm just going to squeeze that in. Just make sure it fits nice. And you'll notice that I've left it on the bench to squeeze it in, rather than just squashing the whole lot together. It keeps the panel flat as you squeeze it up. Okay. Could actually use that as a handle, really. Be one way of fitting the handle.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, no? Okay.
It's all about ideas, though, isn't it?
It is, it is. Okay. What I need to do now is just plane that off, and that's a bit too thick, that piece. So I need to make a stop. And I had a piece of rough stuff there, which is there. Just wipe the excess glue off it. That's my stop. Get this cute little plane. I probably could have cut it a little bit thinner, but it's easier to work with a bigger piece of material, and you'll see that when I get up to the next step, which will be cutting the partitioning. Around.
I think you just like playing with the planer.
Pammy reckons I just like playing with the plane, with the plane, and she's right. Look at these curly little, what do they call that sort of hairdo?
Shirley Temple.
Shirley Temple. It's coming off now. There's probably 100 other ways of doing this that are quicker. This is good practice. Not only practice at using the plane, but actually setting it up. Now this is just a little low angle Veritas plane. Don't want to take too much off. Try not to take anything off the front of it. And so there we have a flat surface. So it doesn't take very long at all. So now it's just add a piece of sandpaper there.
Is that 80 grit?
Yeah, the sandpaper that I'm using here is just a piece of coarse 100 actually. And all I want to do is get it flat, and as you can see we now have a nice little panel. So cute little panel, needs more of a sand, but you can see the end of it is nicely fitted. Okay, so they're nice little rounded over corners which match up to the wheels, so it looks quite nice.
Just turn it slightly so we can see the profile.
So you can see it's nice and flat.
Yeah.
And then when we fit that onto there, it gives you the distinct impression there's a drawer there. And so that's going to sit in the front. Now, you may not like it, but we've still got to put a top on it yet, and we're going to do things to the top as well, but we've got to link things together. So that's what we're going to do now, is you're going to fit that to there, fit that to the drawer. And as you would have seen in my previous job, what we did was we put some tape on there and glued it together and then drilled and did various things to it, which we're going to do now. So this is double-sided mounting tape. I just want 4 bits of that. Now, just going to make sure my drawer is in the right place. Actually, before I do that, one of the things that we did before is make sure the drawer is hard down on. Take the feet away. We have to make sure that the drawer is actually sitting flat on the bottom. It could sit up, so add a little weight. So this is just a little lead weight. And I put that on there, and what that does, it keeps it flat down.
So you can actually just see that slight gap in the top.
Just a little bit of a gap there. What I need to do now is stick on my little bits of double-sided tape.
Need tweezers.
I do. I need something. And when you put these on, make sure that they're evenly spread on the job so that it doesn't... Come on, stick on there. Put these here. Some of the fiddly things. When you've got big pudgy fingers, they don't really help. sure that's right. Now, position that in place, stuck to the tape. Try not to move it once you get it to this stage. I'm flush there, and I'm flush there, which is perfect. And you can just see a tiny little lip on the top of the drawer, which is perfect. Now, what I need to do is just take that down, clamp this down, and then I can drill some holes. Okay. So what I'm using here is I'm just going to use a drill bit that's the same size as my pre-drilled holes that are in there, so that it stands up straight. We want that to be vertical. You don't want the screws to be... And I'm only marking the holes, I'm not actually drilling deep, I'm just marking the holes. Do that again. Okay. Now I can take everything apart. And there's my 2 holes drilled, a little marked. Now I don't want that size hole there because that's not going to give me much purchase with the screws when I put them in there. So I have a smaller drill bit, which is the same diameter as the shaft of the screws. Okay, so they're the screws that I'm going to put in there. They're only small, so drill bit's the same size as the shaft. What I need to do is mark some depth, which means I've got to get my little bit of tape back again, wherever it is. I don't want these two very deep either. So if I just sit that like so, put my piece of tape on it. Oh, I've shifted it down a bit. It's not going to go too deep. So now it's just a matter of drill those holes. And screws. Once I get one started, Now when we do that final assemble, I will actually pull these apart and I will glue that face to the other. I think I need a little bit more adjustment, but anyway, we've got that sorted. Isn't that a handy little tool? Somebody asked me about it the other day. Where do you get it from? Bunnings, the big green store, and it's a Trojan. So, can't see it.
That's called Trojan.
Call it Trojan. Yep. So there's the front of my drawer. Let's see how it fits. May need to adjust it, but oh, I love it when a plan comes together. And then if I put the feet back on, sitting up a little bit here, but that's okay. It means I can adjust it. Now we're looking like something. So the box is starting to come together really nicely. It's recessed a little bit too much. So I've got to just pack it out a little bit. So that's what has to happen there. Maybe put a stop in at the back of the drawer, but basically it's going to work fine. So there's my drawer front, and of course I've got to put a handle on it. And I might even plane it up a bit and make it look a little bit more pretty. The beauty about it is, and you can see when I did the drawer, when I made the drawer, I made the front panel out of a piece of cedar to match up to what's going to happen on the front of the box. So when you look at the end of it, it looks like blind dovetails. So that was the idea behind it anyway. So that's going to go there. Now, how much time have we got? 15 minutes. So what I can do now is we're going to do some partitioning. Partitioning is a personal taste thing. I'll just get rid of some of these tools. So I'm going to show you how I actually come to doing the partitioning. The first thing is consult with the person who's going to use the box, right? So my go-to person is Pam. So when I build a box, I'll ask her what she would do with the measly amount of jewellery that I give her. So she will make a decision, and then I'll follow this decision most of the time. Most of the time. For this one here, we're going to do something a little different, something that I haven't done before. And we're going to make, I'm still getting rid of stuff here. See what happens when you get a bigger table? You end up with more stuff sitting on the table. I don't know. Dave doesn't seem to have a mess lying around his workshop. By the way, if you're interested in building a ladder, clip onto Dave after my show, and you'll he's going to build a ladder. That should be a fair bit of fun. Out of recycled Oregon, he tells me. So we'll see how we go with that. All right. Time to go to Mr. Squiggle. So I'll give Pammy a rest and I'll go up to the top. This is what we have here. Now, this is my box. Now what I want to do, and I'll just draw a very quick sketch, and then we'll just work out what we're going to do with it. So this is what my box looks like. And what I want is a square in the middle of it. But then I want partition there, partition there, partition there, partition here. So we end up with that shape. So we end up with a relatively square partition pocket there, another one over this side which is the same as that one, and then we have two long ones, this one and that one. And the centre square is going to be a 50mm square. Okay, so that's basically what we're going to do. So what I need is I need to have dovetail here, here, here and here. So because I want everything dovetailed together, I've got to make sure I get my measurements here and there. So we end up with dovetail there, there, there and there. And the dovetail is going to be on the end of each of the partitions. And then we're going to have a half dovetail in the middle of all of that. So what we'll do is I will cut, I was going to do this with a ruler, but I don't need to now. What we'll do is I will cut a piece of timber this long from this material. It's wide enough to be able to cut two because I've only got 30mm drop. So I'm going to cut two pieces of this and then two pieces of that. So. Got
to keep your head out of the way.
Oh. Pammy keeps telling me I have to get my head out of the way. So something no. Now she's brought me unstuck. Okay, so this is our box. But anyway, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this material. It's wide enough to be able to cut two pieces out. So that could be that piece and that piece. And then I'll cut another piece that's long enough to be able to do those two parts there. And then we'll cut some dovetails on it. Now, we might get through it. We've got 10 minutes. And so I'll just flick over to there. You can see this is where the ideas come from. This is how the ideas get developed. Whiteboard and a marker. But I want a 50mm square in the middle of that. Right, so let's get rid of that out of the way. I'll bring this back. And actually I know where to find my ruler now. It's in my apron. So, in the front. So, if I've got 160 there, the centre of 160 is 80, and 25 either side of that will give me 25. So the length of my cross part is 80 plus 25 is 110, 115. So two pieces 120 would be okay. So 120 at one piece there, and the other one's going to be the other way around. So I've got say 240. Let's go like so. Is 120 plus 25. 145. So that's 150. So if I cut one piece at 150, one piece at 120, that should give me enough material to be able to give me a 50mm square in the middle. Okay, let's go over to the saw and we'll do that. I need my pencil. Bring the pencil, bring the ruler. Incidentally, I've dressed this to 7mm, which is about pretty safe for cutting dovetails, because I'm going to do half the depth, so that's say 3.5mm, just 4mm depth dovetail, and they will show up in the top of the box. So what was it, 150, 120, 120, so let's go 50 from there is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, I think that'll work. like I said, we're doing this on the fly. So ears on everybody. That doesn't look wide enough, does it? Let's get the box over. Oh, it's going to be. So it's only got to come to there. So here and here. So one piece there, one piece there. Yeah, I think that'll work. I think it was 150, wasn't it, Pammy? Yeah, I think that'll work. Then we have the other one here and another one there. Yes. Okay, now, another important thing, I'm going to cut a piece of testing material. Only needs to be a short bit, but it's cut from the same piece of material. And let's go over and we'll set up for cutting our dovetails at 150. Okay, so I have my H10 router bit in the jig and I'm setting that by eye to about 3/4. I need a fence. So I've got now the important thing here is make sure the fence is actually long enough to work with. $50 so 50mm to the inside edge. Of my router bit. So the mark is on this side of the router bit. I'll swap your places, Pammy. You stay where you are. Lock my fence in. And now, just to cut those dovetails, I had a push block. I'll just get it. Stay where you are. So just make sure you've got your push block sorted, everything done. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to cut straight through my piece of material there. Okay? And just make sure I get everything turned on. So ears on everybody. Okay, so now we have my 50mm dovetails. So what we need to do now is in the 50mm bit, cut ourselves a dovetail that will fit into there and fit into there. Okay, so that will give us our 4 corners. So now, the important thing to remember here is leave your router bit exactly the right height. You don't want to move that. You can see how deep the dovetail is going to be. It's going to show up quite clearly. So once we get it in there, we're going to show the dovetails. So you can see that it's quite nice there. So this is where we need our testy piece. Okay, so the tester piece is going to cut our dovetails. So now I have to set what I'm doing is I'm making sure my tooth on the router bit is 90 degrees to my fence. Bring the fence over. Now the distance from there to there is 6mm, and normally I would use a 6mm piece, but I'm not going to this time. I'm going to use a piece of 7mm, so I'm going to end up with a little shoulder on each of those top edges. So when we set the fence, I'm setting the fence with that little shoulder in mind. And like I said, we need test piece for this. Okay. So, ears on. Push block. So, as you can see here, this is a tester, remember. You can see that's way too loose. Okay, so I'm taking too much material off, so I have to lessen how much material I take off. So I can use the other end of the piece of tester. Okay, so if I just slide my fence a tiny little bit, like that. Test the other end. So ears on. Still a little bit loose, still not enough. Okay, so we go to the drop saw this time. I'm just going to dock the end of that off. And I'm going to move this a little bit more. As you can see, I'm not moving it very much. You don't want to bring it too far. If you bring it too far, it's not going to fit at all. Ears on. So what I've done is I've taken it too far, and now it doesn't fit at all. So I'm going to take a little bit more off. So like I say, this is where it's important that you do have your testing material. I'm going to cut that same one. I think it was that one. Yep. Ears on. And so now I have a perfect fit. I've got it in, I can't get it out. Okay, so that is now a perfect fit. It just fits in there so nicely. It'll snug and it will slide all the way along. So I don't need the tester anymore. What I need to do is I need to cut the 50mm ends of those. So I'm just going to mark that just in case I've got I have a habit of cutting the wrong bit. So I think I'll overcome that by marking things. Okay. Just run over that one again. Doesn't want to fit. This is the importance of having those testers. Maybe it's the furry stuff on the edge. Yep, that's going to go. I won't put it in there, just in case I can't get it out. And that one fits as well. So now I'm just going to cut them to length, cut them to width. So I'll drop over to the table saw. We'll cut them to width. know we've gone over time, folks, but I just want to get this done so that I can go on with the next bit for next week. Next week I want to start looking at doing the lid. So these are going to be 30 millimetres . Is on. With a bit of luck, this will all fit together. So, confusion reigns. That's got to go that way. There's the first one. Oh, it worked. Look at that. Let's go to the box. And then we'll call it quits. And all I need to do now is cut that to length. And we've come up with another way of doing partitioning. We just need to make sure we get the right width and lengths. As you remember, I did it a little bit longer than normal, just a bit of a tidy up as well. And that will be it. So that worked. I'm really pleased with that. So like I say, I've not done that before, and it's going to be a nice little addition to the boxes. So I'll do that again on the other box and get that sorted. So we'll take it from there. So have a good week, everybody. Like I said, Dave's doing a ladder today. But if you haven't subscribed to our channel yet, please do so, and we'll give you a reminder every Sunday and let you know when we're on. And don't pick on my apron. It's a good apron. Have a good week.